let's start with AbortController. I'm going to switch to the browser, and I'm going to write some code here, and then I'm going to save it in the notes. So what is AbortController? Let me go to MDN and search for AbortController. So here's the MDN page for this thing called AbortController. So the AbortController interface, as the page says, it represents a controller object. We will see how this looks and how we can use it. Allows you to abort one or more web requests. So basically, you have like an ongoing request. You let JavaScript send a request to some server, and sometimes this request might take quite a long time. And at some point, you might want to stop that request. That request may take a few milliseconds, up to a few seconds or even minutes sometimes. And oftentimes you need to stop, like to cancel or to abort that request for several reasons. That's why I opened this ChatGPT, because, for example, you can see that you can ask things. So how can I use AbortController? So if I click, if I hit enter or press this send button, there will be a network request. Let's see whether that works through the network panel. Haven't checked this, but we will send a request, probably an AJAX request to the OpenAI server, and we will be waiting for the AI thing, the ChatGPT, to search the web and give us back some results. Sometimes this might take long, or we might change our minds and we want to stop the request and ask another question. So when I click send, you will see there's a stop button here. I'm going to stop it. And basically, it just aborted this session, this question. Now, I'm not sure exactly how this worked with ChatGPT. I'm not sure whether this... Yeah, okay, I don't think this will help us. But basically, this is the idea. You send a request through some interface, through some like interaction, and then you want for some reason to stop it. In this case, instead of waiting for this response to end, I press the stop button, and then I can ask another question. Now, maybe I did a mistake, or maybe I changed my mind. So this is where you want to abort a request, and this is how the AbortController lets you do it. So let's test this. And in order to test this with kind of like a slow response, I'm going to use a JSON API called JSON placeholder with a delay function. Basically, let me see if I have already this request. Oh yeah, I have the request. So there is this endpoint. You hit it, you will see that I can add a delay here, like 5 seconds, 500 milliseconds. So if I hit this endpoint, it will emulate a 5-second delay. So I enter, I wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then eventually I get the response. So this is like a very dummy endpoint so that you can test your request. It just responds with some dummy data here. And the cool thing is that you can emulate slow responses by entering this this delay parameter at the end. Let me put it here. So if you use this, you get some data, like some user data immediately, like this. But if you put the delay, you emulate a long delay. So I will use this to emulate a kind of like a request that takes, let's say, 15 seconds. And then because it's, let's say, slow, I want to abort and do something else. So first I'm going to write here a simple fetch request. And then I'm just going to start with a simple immediate response. So I'm fetching, I'm waiting for the response object. I'm going to use either the JSON method or the text method to convert the response body into a JSON format or a simple text. Let's do with JSON because this API returns JSON. And then we're going to console log using the arrow functions here. Then I will always handle the errors in a So I'm going to fetch this JSON thing that we saw here. I'm going to get the response, transform it into a JSON object, and then console log it on the next promise. If there's something wrong, I will be catching this with this handler. So let's see how this works with a simple fast request. You will see it starts in pending mode, and then after a couple of milliseconds, we get the JSON object back. Now, if I test with the delay thingy, which is, let me try this with let's say 3 seconds this time, you will see that it will start in pending mode, and then we'll have to wait 3 seconds in order to get a response. We don't get this immediate, or maybe let's try 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we do get this delay. So let's say that we have this this fetch request as an ongoing request, and we want to we change our mind and we want to stop it. Maybe it's blocking some other interaction. Maybe we want to do another request, try something else, or maybe we want to leave the page, or I don't know, maybe do something else. So here's how the abort controller works. There's an example in the MDN page, of course, which I'm going to send. And what you do is, I will be running this in the console for now. So first of all, we have our let's say long-running request, and by default we don't have any way to stop it. Once we run this command, it's starting, and it will take 5 seconds to come up with an answer, and that's it. We cannot stop it. So we use the abort controller, which is a function constructor. We use it with a new keyword and the parentheses to actually create a new instance of an abort controller. So this is the function creator, the function constructor, which allows us to create instances of abort controllers. We can come up with as many abort controller instances as we want. We just instantiate the main class and the abort controller, and we get instances of the abort controller. Let me just put this aside. Okay, let's see what we get back from this abort controller. I will press the dot. We get two interesting things. We get an abort method. So this is a method, a function, as you can see, which means that we can call it. And then there's this thing called the signal, which is something a little bit strange. As you can see, it's an object which has this interface abort signal. So we get to these two things. The abort method is the method that we call whenever we want to abort an ongoing request. The signal is the thing that we have to put to inject inside the fetch request, so that we can like remotely stop the request. So basically, you can think of this as like a remote controller, which we can press a button and then we can stop an ongoing fetch request. And this is kind of like the receiver. This is the signal that the thing that signals the fetch request to stop. So how we can we combine these two is, I'm going to, let me refresh to start anew. So I will create an abort controller, and the way that we can inject the signal, let me clear up the code here. URL. Okay. So the way that we can use the signal and inject it in the fetch request so that we can abort it is, we can use the second argument, which is an object. And we can put here a couple of things. One of them is we can add a signal. If I go to the MDN fetch API page, always start with MDN. you will see that, let me see, this is the fetch method, and this is the options. This is the second argument, which is this one, which needs to go here. And you can see the things that I can pass to this second object parameter. And if I scroll down, as you can see, there's a lot. There should be a signal that I can pass. S. Okay, so there's a signal property that we can pass to this second object parameter, and that should be of type abort signal. The thing that we saw earlier when we console logged ac.signal. So this thing can be passed through the signal parameter, and then we can cancel the request using the abort. So let's put the AC signal, the property of this object. And now if I run this, this fetch request will have this, let's say, remote controller, this signal, that it's going to be listening for some signal to be transmitted. The signal I'm going to transmit is the AC abort. So this thing gives us the ability to, let's say, control this fetch request by calling this method. Once this is called, this will signal to stop the request. Now I will start this in, let's say, 50 seconds. So it takes long. And once it's up, you will see that it will start in pending mode. It will take 50 seconds to complete. We don't want to wait that long. Once it's an ongoing request, it's in pending mode, I will call ac.abort to actually stop the request. So I'm waiting, I will be waiting 50 seconds, but I can use the abort to stop the request. I think we can see it here. You can see the request here. So if I abort, you will see there's a console log from the catch method. So this says that the signal is aborted without reason. We will see how we can change it. And basically, the request stopped. So just to double check that it works, I'm going to rerun this with like 5 seconds and wait. So I'm going to abort, and you will see that after 5 seconds, I hope I did this right. Yes, we didn't, no, let me rerun this. I think I have to create a new instance. So 5 seconds, and let me be ready to abort. So enter. Okay, it completes immediately because there's a caching thing here. So this came back very early because the browser has cached the previous request, and instead of waiting 5 seconds, it gave me a cache response. So in order to trick the browser into not caching this request, I'm going to use a trick. I'm going to add a silly parameter with a random number, so that every time I run this, the random at the end will be new random number. So the browser will be caching the first one, but then the next one will be a different one. So this is just a trick to trick the browser into not caching the request. Otherwise, it comes back really fast. So let's see if this works. Okay, I aborted. Let's wait 5 seconds to make sure that we don't see the result. I think it's working. So we started, and then we aborted. We saw this console log here. We never went there. Okay, we never saw this console log JSON because we aborted and we immediately went into the cats. And the network request, as you can see here, was canceled. So we started the request. You can see the random number here. You can see this random number that I put just to make every request a unique URL, so that the browser doesn't use the caching mechanism from the last one. And when I aborted, it was canceled, and we never got anything back, right? Which means we have to handle this case. If we're waiting for some response, we have to do something if the response was aborted, the request was aborted. And this is where you should handle this abort case. In here, you get an error, and this says abort error, signal is aborted without reason. Um, and in order to make this a little bit more friendly, I'm going to use a feature of abort, which is that I can add a value here. So I can either add a string. So user aborted the request. So instead of just calling abort, I will also put a value. And you will see that right now, let me put like an extra. So, and now I will abort, but this time I'm passing a custom message. So now this custom message is displayed here, and I can either display to the user, or I can check whether this is a specific string and do something. Maybe I have aborted because of the user pressed the stop button, or maybe I don't know, like there's another reason. Timeout, timeout, thing. Maybe we have another code that is waiting for a few seconds, and if it goes over a few seconds, we time out so that we don't, I don't know, take too long. And then in here, you can check the methods, see how and who aborted this, and then you can, of course, add some conditional statement and say if error equals user aborted, do something, otherwise, do something else. So this is pretty useful. We saw how we can see it in these applications. These chat applications that usually take a few seconds, we can stop them. Uh, you can see this stop button, um, and this is where we want to be using. Now, this is a simple code that I will be sharing. Sorry, copy. So this is the basic, let's say, basic abort controller with Fetch API. And then let's switching to Markdown so I can save the notes. And then, of course, you will have to say AC abort. You can either send a message, or you can even pass another value, like let's say a reason, and then maybe some code, I don't know. So the error comes back either as a string or as an object, which you can use like to distinguish between different abort strategies or abort reasons, or maybe even some thing to do next. So in this code, you should, of course, be making sure that the user sees something according to this situation. Oh, sorry. I hope the zoom level is okay. Let me know if you want me to zoom more. Sorry, I got that. I saw the message now. And now you can paste your questions on the chat as well. Now here's the new thing. I kind of like use that abort controller, but what I learned yesterday was that the abort controller and the signal is not only can only be used in the fetch request, but you can use it with event listeners. So basically, when you have an event listener, add event listener, click. So I will put a simple. So handler. So when you have like this event listener, you add an event listener to an element. In this case, the document body. You set the event type, and then you get the handler. So now every time I will be clicking on the body of this page, I will be seeing this handler getting executed. So we have this event listener, and we also have the remove event listener. So if for some reason I want to remove this event listener, I no longer want the user to click and see something, I can say remove event listener. And then now the handler, I'm clicking and nothing happens. So I just removed the event listener on the document body for the click event for this specific handler. The remove listener works for the element that you have used and the event and the handler. All these three things must be the same in order to remove a listener: element, type, and the reference, the function that you pass as a reference. Sometimes you have many event listeners. So let me create, let's say, let me create another. Let me create two more, like console log clicked two, and then I will put another. So I'm putting the same silly click event listener on the, oh, what did I do? Okay, I lost my, okay, this is the thing, the bad thing about the terminal, that you can very easily lose your, let me change this to something different so we can see different. And then I need to put another one here. Okay, so I'm adding three event listeners on the same element, the same event. Silly stuff. I missed someone unexpected token. I think I have an extra parenthesis here. Okay, so now once I click, all these three click handlers will get executed. Okay, what can I do to remove all these event listeners? I have to call this remove event listener 3 times, one for each case. So we'll have to use document body, add event listener, handler, handler 1, handler 2, handler 3. Also, in order for this to work, I cannot pass like an anonymous function. I should pass a function reference. So in order for me to be able to remove an event listener, I should be passing a function reference so that I can use that reference in the remove event listener. The anonymous function won't work, I believe. So for all these 3 cases, imagine that this is a function called handler2, handler3, and I have to write 3 document body remove event listeners in order for this to work. Basically, let me see if I can quickly do this. I think I can copy. Let's see it in practice. And I hope. Okay, let me refresh just to clear the previous session with a. Okay, so I click and then I see these 3 clicks, and now I will have to copy these and say remove every single one of them. So now I have these event listeners gone. Now, there are cases where you have a lot of event listeners, and also when you want to remove all of them. One case would be when you display like a pop-up. So you display a pop-up, and that pop-up is interactive. You have the user click something, scroll something, submit something. So you have 2, 3, 4, 5 event listeners. When you close the pop-up, you might want to remove this event listener, so that if the element is gone, you don't want these event listeners to be taking up memory or even listening to events and even interacting or doing some action. So you'll have to remove all the event listeners one after the other. And here's how the abort controller can help us remove all these listeners with a single line of code. So I'm going to be doing the same thing, but this time I'm going to use the abort controller. So I'm going to say AC new abort controller, and now I will go to MDN for add event listener to see this new thing. So if I go here and I find like the options that I can pass to the add event listener, you can see here in the options we have a signal. So once again, the abort signal that we use in the Fetch API, we can use it with the add event listener as well. So I will go here and I will place an option object here, signal AC signal. So I'm injecting this abort controller signal, this remote controller, as I like to think. So all these three event listeners will have this signal, and whenever I call abort with some methods, I will immediately abort and basically remove the event listeners with just one command, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to run this code. Hopefully it will run as expected. And now if I run just single command, it's gone. So I'm clicking and nothing happens. So this is how we can use the abort controller for the event listeners as well. So this is the code for, let's see how the AI is doing. Let me try to let Copilot. Okay, no. Let me place the code here. Okay, I have this example, and I'm going to let Copilot give me the title. So let's see. No, it doesn't do a good job. So abort controller with event listeners. So this is a very simple example. And of course, I have to call the abort. And usually this is happening after a user interaction, like a stop button, an abort button, and something that kind of like. So this is what I wanted to share in this presentation. I will put the references in here. So you should read about the abort controller, the JSON placeholder. This is the request init. This is the thing that we passed to the Fetch API. And then, of course, the event target, the event listener, which contains the information about the signal, and of course, a lot of other like useful information. So this is the abort controller.